Hey there, and welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah.
You know how sometimes world events can feel a million miles away?
Yeah.
Today we're going to show you why that's rarely true. We'll unpack how a conflict halfway across the globe can send ripples through the stock market
Absolutely.
and explore how a massive project right here in the U.S. aims to reshape our energy future.
Yeah. It's going to be a fascinating look at how these seemingly separate areas are actually deeply connected.
We've got articles on everything from the defense industry to the intricacies of the Chinese market, and I think you're going to walk away with a much clearer picture of how all of this impacts your world.
What's fascinating is how quickly things can change, right? And understanding those shifts is crucial for anyone who wants to grasp the bigger picture.
Couldn't agree more. Let's start with a topic that's been dominating the headlines. The escalating conflict between Israel and Iran.
Right.
We're seeing defense stocks like Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman surging.
Yeah, it's a classic example of how geopolitical instability can translate into market reactions, right? Investors are analyzing the situation. They're placing their bets on companies that stand to benefit from increased defense spending.
It's almost like clockwork, right?
It often is, unfortunately.
But let's dig into the specifics of this conflict. We've seen reports of Iranian missile strikes, the killing of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. It's a rapidly evolving situation.
And it's crucial to remember that these aren't isolated incidents. This past year has been particularly volatile, beginning with the attacks that triggered the Israel-Hamas war.
With real-world implications adding another layer of complexity to an already tense situation.
Exactly, and this is where it gets really interesting. This isn't just a regional conflict. It has the potential to impact everything from oil prices to international relations on a much larger scale. What did you find most surprising about the potential fallout from your reading?
I think what struck me was the analysis of Russia's position. They've been a longtime ally of Iran, but the sources suggest they might be limited in their ability to offer support due to their own military commitments in Ukraine.
It's a delicate balancing act for Russia. They're navigating their own geopolitical challenges and have to weigh the benefits of supporting Iran against the potential costs of further alienating themselves from the West.
It really highlights how interconnected everything is, like one giant chess game, with players having to anticipate each other's moves on multiple boards simultaneously. But going back to how this impacts you directly, Capital Alpha Partners predicts that a prolonged conflict between Iran and Israel could lead to a sustained increase in demand for U.S. defense products.
And that prediction is based on historical precedent. We've seen this pattern before where periods of heightened geopolitical tension lead to increased military spending, particularly on arms and technology.
It's a sobering thought that the worse things get in one part of the world, the better it might be for certain industries in another. But before we move on from this geopolitical chess match, any other key insights our listeners should be aware of?
That's the complex reality we live in. But shifting gears from geopolitics, let's talk about another area where investors are making some calculated gambles. China.
Speaking of high-stakes games,
Right.
China's stock market just had its biggest rally in years, leaving a lot of people wondering, is this the chance they've been waiting for, or a bull trap in disguise?
Yeah, it's the question on everyone's mind. On the surface, the case for investing in China appears strong. Low interest rates, government stimulus,
Right.
and of course, the sheer size of that market is enticing.
It's a tempting proposition.
Yeah.
But what are the potential pitfalls investors need to be wary of?
Well, the articles highlight a crucial point that often gets overlooked. China's political system introduces a level of uncertainty that's simply not present in Western markets.
We're talking about the lack of transparency, the government's tight grip on the economy, all those factors that make some investors hesitate.
Exactly. And there's no better example of those risks than the cautionary tale of Jack Ma and Alibaba.
Ah, yes. The Alibaba saga. For years, it was the way to tap into China's booming e-commerce market. Then things took a turn. Refresh our memory about what happened to Jack Ma and what it revealed about doing business in China.
It's a story that sent shockwaves through the investment world. Jack Ma, Alibaba's founder, dared to publicly criticize the Chinese government's financial regulations, and what followed? He vanished.
Oh, wow.
Disappeared from public view for months. No one knew if he'd been detained, silenced, or worse.
It was like something out of a movie. The uncertainty surrounding his fate sent chills down the spines of investors worldwide. It really made everyone question the stability they thought they saw in the Chinese market.
And that's the key takeaway here. While Ma eventually resurfaced his ordeal and the subsequent government crackdown on Alibaba served as a stark reminder that in China, the rules of the game can change overnight.
It's a crucial lesson. especially when you consider that many Western investors are drawn to China precisely because its leaders seem less influenced by market forces compared to, say, U.S. politicians. There's this perception of stability, predictability even. But as the Jack Ma situation showed, that stability can vanish in an instant.
You've hit the nail on the head. Investing in China requires a careful balancing act. You have to weigh the incredible economic potential against the very real political risks.
Okay, so we've covered the high-stakes world of geopolitics and global markets. Let's shift gears now to a story of ambition and innovation happening right here in the U.S., the SunZia project.
Right, a project that really embodies the complexities of our energy future, aiming for energy independence, pushing for renewables, and navigating all those hurdles of getting these massive projects off the ground.
And when we say massive, we're not exaggerating. Imagine this, a renewable energy project so vast, it could power a city the size of Chicago entirely with clean energy.
Yeah, it's ambitious.
That's SunZia, and it's being built right now in New Mexico.
It's truly impressive. 916 wind turbines, a 550-mile transmission line spanning over 500,000 acres. This is what it takes to make a dent in our reliance on fossil fuels.
It's mind-boggling. But as we've seen with other ambitious projects, the journey is rarely smooth sailing. SunZia has been in development for nearly 2 decades, facing numerous delays and challenges. What have been some of the biggest roadblocks?
Well, the sources highlight a critical bottleneck facing many renewable energy projects in the U.S. The permitting process. SunZia first applied for permits back in 2006. Think about that 18 years to navigate the bureaucratic maze. It's a stark reminder of the urgent need to streamline these processes if we want to transition to clean energy at the scale and speed necessary.
18 years. That's longer than some people have been driving. But
Yeah.
despite these hurdles, SunZia is pushing the boundaries of what's possible with innovative technology, right?
Absolutely. One of the most fascinating aspects of SunZia is its use of high voltage, direct current HVDC transmission lines.
Okay.
This technology is incredibly efficient at transporting electricity over long distances with minimal energy loss. But it's more than just efficiency. It's about solving a crucial challenge for states like California that are rapidly scaling up solar power.
So how does HVDC help solve that challenge?
Well, think about when solar energy generation peaks during the day, obviously, but energy demand often peaks in the evening when people are home from work. That mismatch creates a problem for the grid. What's intriguing about SunZia's location and its use of HVDC is that it can capture those strong New Mexico winds that often pick up in the early evening and deliver that energy directly to California when they need it most.
That's amazing. It's like a perfectly choreographed energy dance, using technology to bridge the gap between supply and demand. But even with these innovations and the potential to revolutionize our energy grid, SunZia isn't without its critics.
That's right. The articles mention ongoing legal challenges from Native American tribes and environmental groups who've raised concerns about the transmission line's potential impact on culturally and ecologically sensitive areas. It highlights that delicate balance we need to strike between that urgent need for renewable energy and the importance of addressing the concerns of local communities and protecting the environment.
It's a reminder that progress rarely comes without compromise and careful consideration of all stakeholders. So as we wrap up this deep dive into international conflict, market volatility, and the race for renewable energy, what's the key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with today?
I think the overarching theme here is interconnectedness. These seemingly disparate stories are all intertwined. Understanding the complexities of the world around us requires looking beyond the surface, connecting the dots between global events and their impact on our lives. It's about recognizing that even something happening halfway across the world can have ripple effects that influence the decisions we make, the investments we consider, and the future we build.
It's a powerful reminder that we're not just passive observers in this globalized world, we're active participants. And staying informed is the first step towards navigating these complexities effectively. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Till next time, keep asking those questions and stay curious.